Is this a film our memory will never let go of, or should we skip it altogether? And welcome Cinema, where we focus on a film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of Never Let Go. Is it good, is it bad, or somewhere right in the middle? Or if you're waiting for this review to decide if you're going to see it or not, make sure to like this video if you enjoy it, subscribe if you haven't already to join in the film culture community where we talk about a lot of cinema as a whole, and getting right into the synopsis. As an evil takes over the world behind their front doorstep, the only thing protecting a mother and her twin sons is their protective bond and this house. And getting right into the positive, I'd first like to mention one thing that is probably inarguably the best thing out of what anyone would take out of this is the acting. What we get from Halle Berry, her overprotective state as a mother, is just fantastic, and getting her two sons, what they pull off are really good for younger actors. And also there's a few side characters that you get along the way that don't have as significant roles but still play a part and deliver on the little that they do have, and so just what we get out of that is just fantastic. Halle Berry just has some of the best parts that she's done over however long she's been acting, and just a revival of something that came out as a surprise, certain standout moments for that scenes. But in general, taking this into the setting of the woods is very fitting for the nature vibes, the survival vibes that you're just being able to accept and take out of the story that naturally fits into this horrific vibe, almost this camp-like setting, but you're trapped in this one set location where yes, you're following along the woods, and it's not necessarily a cramped one house location, but you're still being able to explore, feel lost, and not necessarily knowing what's going on in the outside world, which begs a lot of interpretive questions that someone could get something completely different out of what is actually going on, who's telling the truth, certain things that may be going about that are half-truths, and there's not necessarily a reliable narrator that leads you to be able to have fun with it and question how well it's going along with its story, the nature of what it follows up to once you're learning pieces of evidence along the way, and new characters pop up that makes you re-question what happened before, how it led up to certain events that are going on now, and it sort of intensifies as it goes along. It never is afraid to turn it up on its head and become that much more dramatic because of the way that it's building up the fright that is the creature, and how you're establishing what the evil is taking form of, because it can take any form that brings a sense of suspicion and deception to the characters, this family at play, which brings it to a whole different level of bringing about a sort of plot twist of something, pulling out something that you just don't expect to happen. And so there was a few different surprising moments. It wasn't totally terrifying, I would say, but there was things that really kept me off guard and managed to really suck me into the story. Even if I wasn't fully attentive all the way through, it still managed to capture the magic that it's trying to feel like it has a sense of an agenda of what it's doing, while also being set up as something that can be interpreted in many different ways because of the display of the nature of all these characters. Even the main family can have questionable motives because of where it ends up leading, and certain things that I can't spoil within this review. But that's also what makes it that much more intriguing, is I could possibly go into rewatching this and find more pieces of evidence that might lead me to believe it was something else after all, based on what we get from the conclusions, and even things, the dialogue, what is said, what may be more crucial to pay attention to than others. Or maybe it doesn't have a definitive answer that could really ultimately play a fun game after all with what you're getting out of this script as a whole. And getting right into the mix elements, and like I was talking about in the positives, it's not necessarily a clear-cut film. You can tell exactly where the story is headed, and being able to follow along, get the answers you may want to get from this type of story. And so if you're not into the mystery or films that make you think or question what's all going on and not necessarily get the answers that are definitive to the film, this may not be a film that's quite cut out for you, because it's just going about multiple different directions while also following along a clear path in 3 different chapters segmented in their own way. And so that's what really sets it up to be something different, not necessarily bad, but it could lean you into one direction or the other, whether it's good or bad for whatever audience you're leaning into. Which leads me into the negatives, to which there's some inconsistencies with certain ideas or certain matters of the details that are going on that I'm trying to hold back from what I'm talking about, but of how the evil works and how certain pieces of the puzzle fit all together that may play into if it was meant to be interpretive and sort of not defining the rules. But that's also what can throw off the story altogether, not necessarily being able to be interpreted and not having the rules that make sense to just hold on to the own substance of being brave enough to tell its own story and having the courage to sustain its own nature, being its own thing. And so it can go in multiple different directions, and at the beginning it sort of takes its sweet little time, and I sort of have a respect for what it's doing because each chapter kind of escalates to the end. But there's also, because of all the interpretive elements, making me lead me to believe that it should still be going a bit quicker with its pacing, especially near the first half, but also when you're getting toward the end, you're expecting more answers, not necessarily knowing what to get out of this film. It still leaves you kind of empty-handed with what you want to expect out of this film. I didn't go with any expectations, even having seen the trailers before this, and so it's slightly misadvertised just because it can't show any spoilers to an interpretive event that many viewers could get something different, whether that leads them into enjoying the film because of how up in the air it is, or not enjoying the film because they're not getting something that's clear cut from it. And so that's just my personal review for Never Let Go, which I have to rate as simply 7 out of 10, where there's many good elements about it that kind of led me into liking the third act a lot more, but doesn't win my heart over at the end of the day. So that's just my personal thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, to join in film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. So that's just all, and make sure to do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.